So Horizon Zero Dawn came out around 2 years ago. Now I say around 2 years ago because I was planning on getting this video out on the release date of like the anniversary of 2 years of Horizon Zero Dawn being out, but obviously I can never do anything on time because I'm fucking useless. The game quickly became a fan favourite, garnering lots of attention from PlayStation fans, and rightly so. The game really blew everyone's expectations out the water. Not only did it expand on previous open world experiences like The Witcher 3, because it definitely took inspiration from The Witcher 3 without a doubt, you know. You can definitely tell with the quest system, the way the open world is structured, it sort of is very similar. It's a very good system that works well. Not only this though, but the story and character development were incredibly impressive, especially considering that it was Guerrilla's first crack at an open world RPG. You know, they were known before for Killzone. I just want to say that for the record, the most recent Killzone wasn't received very well by fans, with a 73% Metacritic score and a 6.8 overall user score. And I think it's fucking hilarious. I was looking at a few of these reviews on here, and some of them are just fucking, they're just funny. I don't know why. Listen to this. Killzone Shadowfall is the video game equivalent of Pamela Anderson 20 years back. Gorgeous to look at, but nothing else is really worth your time. What a great review. Here's another great one. Have a listen to this. Killzone Shadowfall isn't the best game for the PS4, but it is the trophy wife of the PS4 launch lineup. It's absolutely gorgeous, and you'll love to show it to the envy of all your friends. But beyond the good looks, she's actually kinda dumb, lacking personality, and can get on your nerves at times. What the fuck? What are these reviews? There've been people sitting here and writing these reviews. These are some fantastic fucking metaphors. But I mean, I just wanted to use these as a way to highlight the fact that people weren't very happy with Killzone Shadowfall, and as that was the game that Guerrilla last released before Horizon Zero Dawn, the future for the company was looking bleak, but then Horizon absolutely saved them from the brink of disaster. And they came out of Horizon Zero Dawn that had incredible storytelling, and it was a very personal story. Horizon Zero Dawn, it continued the trend of PlayStation exclusives being absolute top quality. It seemed like at this point, PlayStation were on the precipice of completely dominating the video game industry if they weren't already by that point. It was a fantastic game, and it really did push Sony that much further into the video game industry. You know, it really did help out the PlayStation exclusive look, and it added to that library of games that were just absolutely impeccable in terms of quality. I'm personally, as someone who really enjoyed Horizon Zero Dawn, has played it multiple times since it released 2 years ago, I'm personally someone who is incredibly interested in the future of this game, because it's definitely going to be a series, you know. Guerrilla would be stupid not to make a sequel, especially after setting up a sequel in the post-credit scene of the main game. So there's definitely going to be a sequel. I'm incredibly excited to see where it's going to go. I don't necessarily think we're going to get a game anytime soon, but I just wanted to speculate, considering it came out around 2 years ago. See where Horizon Zero Dawn is, do a retrospective on it, and see what's next for the game. So this video is going to be talking about what is next for the Horizon series. I personally had no expectations for this game at all. Like, I'd only briefly watched the gameplay demo of it, and even then I wasn't really paying much attention, and I didn't even finish watching it, I don't think. It wasn't on my radar at all. Usually, when a new game's coming out, I'll tend to watch some gameplay of it and determine whether or not I'm excited for it. But Horizon Zero Dawn, it completely slipped underneath my radar. It wasn't on my radar at all. I didn't even know it was coming out until a few days before it came out, or even after the point that it came out. And and to be honest, it caught me by surprise. Horizon Zero Dawn definitely caught me by surprise. As I've said, I mean, Guerrilla were only known for the Killzone series, so like, they weren't even a company that was on my radar either. I'd never played Killzone before, I wasn't interested in playing Killzone, so I didn't know Guerrilla as a company. I wasn't excited for the game, I didn't think anything of the game, I didn't think anything of the company that was releasing or developing the game. So, when they did release it, and I heard good things about it, I was interested at first. I was intrigued. I wanted to see what the hype behind this game was about. I remember hearing Colin Moriarty talking positively of the game back when he worked with Kinda Funny, you know, before all that stuff happened and before he became way more successful than Kinda Funny could have ever hoped to be. But I heard him talking very fondly of Horizon Zero Dawn, and hearing the way he was speaking about it made me interested in it because I knew he was a refutable source that I could trust. Basically, everything I heard about Horizon Zero Dawn before I played it for myself was word of mouth. I didn't see any advertisements for it, I didn't see any gameplay for it post-release. Honestly, I was just like, alright, I'm going to try this game out. I'm going to try it out. So it was about 3 days after the release of Horizon Zero Dawn. I purchased it for my PlayStation and then decided to boot it up. And my first impressions of this game, I was fucking blown away. I'm gonna be honest. I was completely blown away by this game from the get-go. The story, the characters, from the very beginning were incredibly impressively written and implemented into this world that Guerrilla had built up. And I think the introduction section to Horizon Zero Dawn was done really well because it eased you into it, you know. It started off when you were playing as Kid Aloy, you know, you were with Rost, you were training for all that stuff, and it kind of eased you into it. It eased you into Aloy as a character. It eased you into Rost as a character. It eased you into mission structure. It eased you into the sort of mystery of the ones who came before, or like the metal structures and the metal ruins. And I think this first section was done really well at captivating the audiences, and that's why it had such a great impact on me straight away as soon as I booted the game up. And the visuals, the soundtrack, and the animations were all fantastic. I could tell this was a game that had a high degree of polish to it. You can tell when a game feels polished. Most of the time with PlayStation exclusives, you can tell how much love and care and refinement has gone into them. So, playing Horizon Zero Dawn, this was no different. You know, the soundtrack was fantastic, the animations were impeccable, the graphics were absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful game, and it still is to this day. I play it and I'll be walking around the open world and just looking at things because it is such a nice looking game. After playing the introductory section to the game, after playing the child section of Aloy, after, you know, winning the proving and stuff like that, and going through all the sections in the Sacred Land, I genuinely didn't think the game could get any better. I was at a loss. I didn't know what could come next for this game because it had already blown so many of my expectations out of the water. I'd had a taste of the open world, I'd had a taste of the storytelling, a taste of the characters, a taste of the combat. The introductory section gives you a taster of everything that's to come in the game, and I had no idea where it could go from this point onwards, and I didn't think it could get any better, but it got so much fucking better and so much more crazy as I played the game. I was in for a fucking long ride, but the game's fantastic. Something I noticed with Horizon Zero Dawn from the get-go is that the game just keeps getting better and better the more and more you play it. It keeps introducing new characters, it introduces new mechanics, new machines, new areas, and to be honest, the world and the characters, they just expand more and more as you play the game. And I suppose that's how it's meant to be, but it's done in such a drastic way in Horizon Zero Dawn because you're cut off from the rest of the open world during the beginning of the game. Because Aloy is confined to the Sacred Lands in the introductory section of the game, so when you're finally let out into the full open world, you feel almost that sort of connection with Aloy. You feel what Aloy would feel, you know, she's been let out into this huge wilderness, left to explore, do whatever she wants, and you're let out into this sandbox to complete side quests, to hunt machines, to upgrade yourself, do whatever you want, and it honestly feels great to have this section at the beginning where you're sort of confined, and then have a following section where everything's open to you and you can do pretty much anything you want. It feels great, and I think Guerrilla did a great job in this aspect. And not only does it give you more of the open world to play around with, which is fantastic on its own, but it expands the story exponentially past this point, and it only snowballs into just a narrative that feels so complex and so well written. It's almost unparalleled in open world games in terms of the mystery that you get to uncover. Every time you go to a metal ruin as Aloy and explore and just uncover secrets, you uncover more about the old ones, which is the old humans that came before the catastrophic event which wiped out all of humanity from Earth. And this sort of mystery, for the first time playing the game, it's so fucking interesting because you have sections of just complete story with very little combat. It just consists of exploration, which are like an hour long, and you just kind of explore this metal ruin, look at data pads, you know, listen to audio files, and talk to silence through your focus, and just uncover more about this mystery that is the ones who came before. And this is something that many games miss, you know? It feels like you're actually making an effort to go and find this out yourself. You want to find out these mysteries, whereas other games spoon feed you a lot of plot points and story points. And obviously these sections are on rails and are very linear, and you could say that technically they are spoon feeding you, but it does feel like you can go out of your way to get extra information about these different characters that existed in the past. So there's loads of data pads and audio files scattered around these metal ruins that you can go and find, which give you more information. You don't have to do that. My first time playing, I went around and found loads of them, but you know, this recent time playing a New Game Plus, you know, I didn't do any of that at all, and the experience felt completely different. It feels like you can delve into these ruins and you can go and find out things for yourself, which is a really nice touch because they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to add this extra lore into these areas that you're probably never going to go to again, but they did, and it fleshes them out so much. Now, going back to talking about characters, some characters in Horizon Zero Dawn, after playing it this third time, I'm pretty sure it is, some characters are a bit weak. I'm not gonna lie. Some of the characters from side quests are a bit weak. Some of the characters from main quests are a bit weak, like Vanasha, like the Sun King. They're just not awfully interesting, and they seem very two-dimensional. You know, you talk to them and they seem like the only point of their character is to further Aloy's story. They're not there to be a part of a world. They're not there to be their own person. They're simply a plot device, and I don't really like that, and I feel like they could have been developed a whole lot more, but maybe in the sequel we will see them get more development, which I would like to see, because there's nothing worse for a character than me seeing them not as a character but as a plot device. So I like to see characters as actual sort of living people in a way, and that's how they should be written. Characters like Aloy, Rost, Silence, they're all really well written characters, and that's probably because they have way more time to be fleshed out. I feel like every character should be written like this. They should be written almost as if they're genuine, real people, or else there's no point in me getting invested in them in the first place. Another character that I really like is Erend. I think from his very introductory section when you are at the Proving, Erend is a great character, and then you actually go from being a stranger, and then you find him in Meridian, seek him out, and then you eventually become one of his friends, and he comes back at the end of the game to help you win your final battle. And this is how it is with a lot of side characters in the game. Honestly, a lot of the characters from side quests in this game are better than some of the main characters in the main story, which I find really fucking weird, but I'm not going to complain because good side quest characters are always welcome, because a lot of games nowadays tend to just have throwaway characters in their side quests instead of actually making them feel meaningful, and Horizon Zero Dawn actually did a good job of this. As well as a great story and a good cast of characters, Horizon Zero Dawn also boasts a really nice open world. It's not massive, it's just densely packed with content, and that's how a fucking open world should be, you know? An open world doesn't have to be huge, it doesn't have to be the size of a country to be good, and I'm looking at you, Ubisoft, you and your fucking huge ass maps, you don't need it. Like, look at Assassin's Creed Odyssey. You know, one of my biggest gripes with that game was traveling around. It was just too fucking big. So I think Horizon Zero Dawn's map is really nice. It's not too big. It's actually quite small in relation to other open worlds, but it's densely packed with content, and there's a lot of stuff to do, and everything that you do inside of it feels meaningful. It feels like it adds to some form of experience, whereas other open world games suffer from having content that is just completely pointless. Going back to the side quests, I feel like a lot of the side quests in Horizon Zero Dawn are actually incredibly well-rounded and have some good content to them. It's mainly to get to know these characters, because if you complete all of the side quests in Horizon Zero Dawn, lots of different characters that you helped throughout the game will come back and help you at the end, which I think is really fucking nice. It's a good addition to the game, but that's kind of the point of the side quests. It also lets you get to know Aloy more as a character on a more personal level, because she's quite a mysterious character. Even if you do play as her, you'd want to get to know about what she is, how she interacts with people, what she thinks of certain things. And the side quests, as well as the main story missions, are definitely a good way of getting to know her as a character on a more personal level. And I feel like when you know your character, when you know who you're playing as more, it gives you way more of a connection to him, and it makes you enjoy the experience just that little bit more. When you're finally allowed to roam free, after when you leave the Sacred Lands, when you're finally allowed to go to the bustling streets of Meridian or the snowy mountain tops, you kind of get a feel for how beautiful the open world in Horizon Zero Dawn actually is. Obviously, it's beautiful from the get-go. The graphics don't just magically improve, but it shows how much care has gone into crafting a realistic recreation of Colorado. I'm pretty sure it is. Quote me if I'm wrong. I think it's Colorado, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful open world. It has a great mixture of wilderness and then civilized areas, as well as the ruins of the old ones, which I find really interesting. It's nice walking through like things that you know were previously streets on planet Earth and seeing, you know, nature take it back. It's really nice. It's quite ominous as well, seeing huge skyscrapers that are being reclaimed by nature. It's a beautiful thing to see, and to see it recreated in Horizon Zero Dawn in such a realistic way, it just makes the open world that much more beautiful. Plus, there's a lot of diversity in the open world in Horizon Zero Dawn as well. There's places that are snowy, there's places that are very green and open, there's places that have lots of rocks, mountains, there's places that have lots of trees, and there's places that have lots of desert areas as well. It's a very diverse open world. Even if it is very small, it still has a lot of different versatile areas that are kind of scattered around. And I think it does a lot for the open world as a whole, because it just means that you're not going to get bored of looking at the same things over and over again, which is what some open world games really do suffer from. I think it's really nice how you can go to different areas and it looks different. Like Meridian looks completely different to, say, the Sacred Lands from the very beginning of the game, or the snowy mountain tops near, you know, Maker's End and stuff like that. It's a really nice, diverse looking open world. A place that I really like in Horizon Zero Dawn is Meridian. Like, I keep going on about it, but Meridian is beautiful. I remember when I first saw Meridian in Horizon Zero Dawn when I played it back in 2017. I never expected there to be this sort of like fortress structure, bustling city on the edge of a mountain. Like, it's beautiful. And playing it recently again, seeing Meridian for that first time and finally getting there, it's just as breathtaking as when I first saw it. It's really nice looking. It's massive. There's those huge lifts on the sides of the fortress that you can go down. It's got these towering structures, nice sandstone walls. It's really nice looking, and I feel like in a sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn, we're going to get so much more stuff like that. We're going to have amazing structures that we're going to be able to see in various different areas of the world. And, you know, Meridian's it's beautiful. It's an example of how my expectations were completely exceeded for Horizon Zero Dawn. And that's why I think the game was so especially impactful to me, because at every turn my expectations were exceeded in terms of the story, in terms of the characters, in terms of the gameplay, the open world, the graphics, the environments. My expectations were constantly exceeded, so Guerrilla did a fantastic job. The story, setting, concept for Horizon Zero Dawn, just pretty much everything about it is a really nice change of pace from other games in the video game industry today. It definitely took me by surprise, and that's not a bad thing. I want games to do that nowadays. In a world when there's so many cliche games, it's nice to have a game that really sets you back, and you look at it and you just go, fucking hell, this is unique as fuck. It's incredibly creative, and it gives me hope that the video game industry can produce these titles on a regular basis that are of insane quality like Horizon Zero Dawn. And the game was so impactful because it exceeded my expectations completely. Obviously, I didn't have many expectations to begin with, but at every turn, at every possible moment, it exceeded my expectations, and I think that's why Horizon Zero Dawn was such a fantastic game, because it just gets better and better as it goes on. Other games get very fatiguing sometimes. You can get towards the end of it and just feel like, ugh, when's this going to be over? At Horizon Zero Dawn, I never got that, and when I was replaying it, I never got that. It's just a fantastically written game. That's refreshing sometimes in the video game industry, full of games that are overbearing or underwhelming. Horizon's story has so much room for expansion and development. It's incredibly exciting, especially with the ending scene with Silence and how he captures Hades in this little lantern. Like, what is that? That's definitely a seed that's been planted that will be paid off later in a future title. It's definitely setting up some form of sequel. And just thinking of all the different possibilities of what could happen to Aloy and what could expand her story in a sequel is incredibly exciting. Like, she could be taken all across Gaia's Earth, uncovering the secrets of the old ones, delving into more metal ruins, meeting more characters, going to new places, unlocking new abilities, fighting new machines. There's so many things that Aloy could do that she hasn't done yet. And I feel like in this very first game, they got it so incredibly right. They gave us a nice amount of content, they set up this world, they set up the lore, but they didn't give us everything. They kept us wanting more. Like, we see these huge metal, like, demons throughout the game. These are huge machines that I believe at some point in the Horizon series we'll be able to fight. They didn't let us fight them in the first game because they want us to see these huge machines as this ominous sort of entity that exists, but is dormant. And I feel like in the sequel, we're going to get to fight one of these huge fucking metal devils, and it's going to be absolutely insane. That's something that I've thought would happen since I ever saw one of those metal machines in Horizon Zero Dawn. I just knew that we would be able to fight one at some point in the series, because you can't set those up. You can't just set those up and not allow me to fight them. Like, I want to fight fucking everything, so let me fight this massive machine, because I think it'd be a really well done boss battle. I think they only touched the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the world of Horizon Zero Dawn in the first game, because there's so much more stuff they could do with Aloy as a character, with where she goes, what she gets up to, who she meets. There's so much more they could do, and I feel like that's a fantastic prospect to have. To know that there's places that this series can go is really nice and exciting, because I just know Guerrilla will do it justice. If they did this well in the first game, think how well they can do in the second game. Obviously in the sequel, Aloy will be a lot more experienced. She'll have the experiences of the first game under her belt, and there's got to be something that will go wrong in the sequel that means Aloy is going to have to go and seek answers or sort something out. And I feel like we're going to get to see Aloy in a much different light in the sequel. Obviously in the first game, she's quite naive, she doesn't really know what's going on, and she's quite angry at the world because obviously she's spent her life in exile. She only just got out, and she's been told that she's this, you know, chosen one that will sort everything out. She's just very angry at everything, and I feel like in the sequel she'll be a lot more reserved, and she'll act more like how you'd expect a normal person to, because she's grown accustomed to these relationships with different people as she's gone further out into the world. And I feel like this will only expand in the sequel. She's obviously going to go to different places, she's going to experience different things, different cultures, different people, and this is only going to expand her as a character. Also, I really hope in the sequel that she starts off with all of her gear and weapons from the first game. This includes the shield breaker armor and all the best gear that was possible to get in Horizon Zero Dawn, because it's kind of like what they did in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood or God of War 2, where you start the game with all of the best equipment that was possible to get in the previous game, because it just adds a little bit more to immersion, and it's something that you don't see in games an awful lot anymore. They don't tend to do that. I don't know why, but it's something that I really appreciate, because it makes it look as if, you know, you're picking up exactly where you left off. Something I want them to do in the sequel as well is kind of work on the gameplay a little bit, because there's some parts of the gameplay of Horizon Zero Dawn that are a little bit finicky, a little bit unpolished, and I feel like two things they could definitely work on is the stealth and the combat. Not saying there's anything wrong with these two features, because they work and they're fine, but they're not awfully exciting. I gotta say, the combat is definitely better than the stealth. The combat can be amazing, and there's obviously all these different variables, different arrows you can use, different weaknesses for the machines, and I feel like all they need to do is, you know, sort the aiming out a little bit, maybe make the bows feel a little bit more natural, less static. In terms of the stealth mechanics, I want to feel like the stealth has more of a reason to be used, because honestly, you can pretty much run in anywhere and just shoot them all with your bow and not really care about using stealth. I want stealth to have some actual advantages over just going guns blazing, because there's no really reason for me to use it at all, apart from, you know, suppose it makes me feel cool when I take out a bandit camp with complete stealth, but that's not really enough reward for me personally. But you know, I'm sure Guerrilla are already working on these systems, and they're gonna improve them regardless of what I say. But it's something that I definitely think should be honed in on, is the stealth, definitely, and just touch up the combat a little bit, because there's times where I was replaying it where the combat felt a little bit clunky. The bows didn't feel like they flowed very well, they felt like they were very static, and I feel like there's definitely things you can do to remedy this. Honestly, Horizon Zero Dawn is such a great start to the series. Like, Guerrilla hit the nail on the fucking head when it came to this game. I don't think you can get a better first game in your series than Horizon Zero Dawn when it comes to open world games anyway. It's a really good mixture of good storytelling, good characters, good open world aspects, good combat, good progression systems, and all of this stuff lays the groundwork for the sequel, and I hope the sequel expands on absolutely everything in Horizon Zero Dawn, as well as adding some new things as well. Honestly, I feel like Horizon Zero Dawn's sequel could be the next step in open world games, because Horizon Zero Dawn blew us all out of the water, and if Guerrilla managed to deliver again with the sequel, we could have something really fucking amazing on our hands.